Kaito and Kahono entertain the crowd with their performance, while Noel wonders where Asta is before realizing she sent him flying. She encounters Asta at their stall desperately trying to sell Yami's grilled squid, and likewise Sek is trying to sell Jack the Ripper's meat but neither have any luck. They explain to Noel that Yami and Jack are trying to compete over whose stall can sell more. Yami then blames Asta for not selling anything while Jack blames Sek and the others for poor sales. The two then decide to settle the score in other ways in a series of childish games, including thumb and arm wrestling. But eventually Yami decides to call Finral to settle the score with their fists. They're teleported to the same cave where they once fought Licht and the Third Eye, while Julius disguised as an old woman curiously follows them. The two start fighting while an excited Sek and Asta cheer on their respective captains, although Noel is annoyed by their liveliness. When she notices Yami about to perform his dimension slash, she urges Finral to put a stop to the fight. If they knock each other out, the kingdom's forces would be weakened, leaving them vulnerable to attack. Finral tries to stop his captain, but he is effortlessly brushed off. As the two captains unleash their magic, Julius uses his chrono magic to put everyone into stasis, recognizing the danger their moves may pose to their surroundings and to themselves. Marks contacts him to return in time for the awarding ceremony. Before Julius leaves, he cuts Yami and Jack's pants. As everyone exits their stasis, Yami and Jack laugh at each other for having their pants down and they decide to stop fighting. They later share food from their respective stalls and they surprisingly get along. However, they begin to argue over their respective scores, and as Asta tries to intervene, he is thrown out once more. As he lands, he sees a beautiful woman whom he finds familiar. Baron Baumain approaches the woman, inviting her out to enjoy the festivities. However, she suddenly casts Briarthorn magic to restrain the drunken Baron, the trademark magic of Charlotte, captain of the Blue Roses. Saul arrives with a dress for Charlotte to wear, and as Asta tries to save Baumain, he accidentally trips and finds himself in Saul's bosom. She recognizes him as the runt from the awards ceremony, then tosses him aside as she flirtatiously dresses Charlotte up, much to the excitement of those around them. Everyone is dazzled by Charlotte's beautiful dress, but they are quickly shut down by Saul and Charlotte herself, as only the Blue Roses are allowed to admire her. Suddenly, Yami arrives to investigate the commotion, and Charlotte is inwardly embarrassed at having him see her all dressed up. Vanessa arrives and the two girls instinctively recognize that they are both rivals for Yami's affections. Vanessa challenges her to a contest which Charlotte turns down, but Saul eagerly accepts on her behalf, much to Charlotte's chagrin. Finral organizes a cosplay contest, and after much taunting from Vanessa, Charlotte agrees. Charlotte dresses up as a witch, earning approval from the crowd, but she is conscious of Yami seeing her. Vanessa's nun outfit also manages to impress, and the votes end up in a tie. After hearing Yami voice his approval over a woman who can hold her liquor, Vanessa proposes a drinking contest to Charlotte, and once again Saul accepts on her behalf. However, Vanessa instantly loses after one drink, as she has already been drinking the entire night. Charlotte, not wanting to lose, tries to drink as well, but she is tragically weak to alcohol. Charlotte recalls that a curse was placed on her that will activate on her 18th birthday, and has lived her life relying on no one but herself. On the fateful day, the curse activates, but she is saved by Yami, who remarks that it is okay to ask for help once in a while. The curse breaks, the cure being Charlotte falling in love with another man. Yami drinks Charlotte's mug, and seeing the indirect kiss, passes out. Finral declares the match a draw. Suddenly, the crowd starts moving, talking about the new captains for Crimson Lion and Purple Orca. Yami realizes that they are late for the ceremony. Julius begins to announce the ranking of the Magic Knight squads. The various magic captains make their appearance, including Marioliona and Kaiser, the new captains of the Crimson Lions and Purple Orcas. Several people notice the absence of two captains, and even Julius is incensed. Julius announces that the Golden Dawn has once again placed first with a record 125 stars, smashing their previous record of 96. Yuno is introduced as the squad's greatest contributor to thunderous applause. Many people then expect the Silver Eagles to be next, but to everyone's shock, Julius announces that the Black Bulls with a whopping 101 stars is in second place. Everyone is astonished, but none more so than the Black Bulls themselves, who had expected to be in last place. As a result, none of the members are anywhere near the stage when Julius calls for them. Yami grabs Asta and hurls him towards the stage, where he lands right next to Yuno. Murmurs begin forming in the crowd when Sek outs the two as peasants, but Yuno brandishes his powerful wind magic, while Asta easily erases it along with any doubts to their abilities. The crowd begins to cheer once more, calling on for greater cooperation. Status and nobility be damned. Julius announces the rest of the rankings: Silver Eagles, Blue Rose, Crimson Lions, Green Manties, Coral Peacock, Purple Orca, and in last place the Aqua Deer. King Augustus Kira Clover 13 then makes his appearance, expecting similar applause. However, the crowd is remarkably lukewarm, infuriating him. Augustus blames Julius for hogging the spotlight and, in a desperate attempt to elicit attention for himself, announces that the Eye of the Midnight Sun's base has been located and he plans to form a squadron of royal knights to storm the hideout. 1 week from now, a royal exam will be held which will decide its members. The exam had been Julius' idea, but Augustus leveraged it to his advantage. However, Asta points out that the king hasn't really done anything and angered the king, who orders him and Yuno executed. Julius manages to defuse the situation and Asta later apologizes. Asta and Yuno then descend the staircase, only to see Marioleona in a fiery tirade against her squad for only securing 5th place. Marioleona berates her squad for placing 5th and begins insulting the previous captain and her younger brother, Fugolian. When Leopold protests her, she strikes him and tells the squad to prove to her that Fugolian raised a proper squad. She proposes a trip to the hot springs and, upon seeing Asta and Yuno, grabs them and forces them to come along as well. In a bar, Yami gloats to the other captains about his Black Bulls being in 2nd place. Nozel, Kaiser, and Jack the Ripper all try to give him a piece of their mind, but each time the bartender appeases them with a complimentary drink. The 3 soon leave while Yami continues to make fun of them, but he stops when he sees Marioleona enter. He is suddenly grabbed as well, meaning to instill discipline in him after failing to show up at the awards ceremony, and she grabs Charlotte and Saul. Looking for Asta to say goodbye to Kayato and Kahono, Noel is also grabbed despite her wishes. Once they leave, the bartender reveals himself to be Julius in disguise and remarks that things will soon get interesting. Marioleona brings them all to the Ultime Volcano Mountain Trail, an inhospitable region, and orders everyone to reach the top, where a magnificent hot spring resides by nightfall. Saul is excited at the prospect of seeing Charlotte naked and she is fired up. Although the intense heat bogs everyone else down, Yami and Charlotte effortlessly rush through the course, demonstrating the Mana skin ability which protects a magic knight with a layer of defense. The other knights soon forge ahead, including Noel, whom Marioleona encourages to press on, reminding her of her mother's tenacity. However, Asta struggles to advance due to an inability to use Mana skin and collapses. Marioleona advises him to just go home, remarking that his feats were nothing but luck. Asta manages to stand back up and says to become the Wizard King, it is not achieved by luck but by merit. Despite talking big, Asta still has no idea how to bridge the gap between him and the others. Recalling Marioleona's words, he decides to look inward and, using his Kai, to sense the dark energy of the sword and manages to manifest its power once more, transforming into his black form. He is suddenly pulled forward by an unknown force blazing through the course, slicing through a lava beast. Leopold and Noel are facing before hurtling towards Marioleona. He warns her to get out of the way, but she bravely stands her ground and slams him into a wall. As the last members of the Crimson Lion makes it to the summit, she scolds them for being late. However, she does give everyone permission to jump into the hot springs, which causes obvious problems for the girls. Saul uses her mud magic to create a giant barrier, splitting the hot spring bath into 2. The girls soak into the hot spring, and as Saul admires Charlotte's figure, Marioleona offers the Blue Rose captain a drink, but she declines due to the past day's events. Saul washes Noel's hair, inviting her to the Blue Roses, but she turns her down, saying the Black Bulls is her home. Marioleona later speaks to Noel regarding her mother Asir, whom she admired as a strong and capable woman, and that in comparison Noel is nothing like her. Noel is dejected, but Marioleona encourages her to overcome her weaknesses and surpass her mother. On the men's side, Leopold is angered by Yuno's cool personality, and they begin to squabble. Yami calls their attention and tells them of a better way to enjoy the hot springs, peeping on the women's side. He reasons that if they are true men and if they are here to get stronger, then they should not fear death, a line of reasoning that Leopold accepts. Yuno refuses and Yami clutches him by the head, also infuriated by his cool persona. As the men are rallied to peep on the women, Saul senses them charging and raises the mud wall even higher, but the men are undeterred. Yami tells Asta to go as well, but he adamantly refuses, remembering that Sister Lily is the only woman for him, stunning everyone. The vice captain of the Purple Orcas, Zerx Lugner, encounters a man who provokes him. Zerx angrily casts his ice magic but ends up being easily defeated and his robe is stolen. Magic Knights begin to gather at the arena. Asta greets Mimosa and Klaus and Yuno, and they talk about their earlier trip to the hot springs, and Mimosa is frustrated that nobody will tell her about it. Finral then appears with a brand new hairstyle, earning him jeers from his fellow Black Bulls peers. Noel runs into Silva, who ridicules her as usual, but Noel is not the same as before and she has newfound confidence and resolve. Julius welcomes the knights to the selection exam and King Augustus begins explaining the exam. 2 teams will compete in a team battle, protecting their crystal while trying to attack the opposing sides. After the 30-minute time limit, the team with the most damaged crystal loses. Julius then elaborates that this format was chosen as several squads will have to cooperate in the fight against the Midnight Eye. He then announces the teams and Asta finds himself alongside Mimosa and Xerx. Xerx arrives, and although Marx and Julius are aware this Xerx is not the real one, Julius convinces him to see how it will go. The rest of the Magic Knights are incensed at Xerx's rudeness to the Wizard King. Xerx goes and greets Asta with stink bugs and says he is not here to compete. He is here to ridicule. The other teams consist of Sol, Magna, Kirsch, N, Noel, Yuno, Pili, Luck, Klaus, F. Inril, Leopold, Hammond, and Dimitri, Solid, and Electora, alongside several other nameless teams. Julius then has Cobb transport everyone using spatial magic, and the first round is announced to include Asta's team. The rest of the Black Bulls arrive to cheer on their squad mates. Charmy makes herself at home on Julius' lap as the first round begins. Asta is pumped up for the match, and Mimosa suggests that they tell each other their magic specialties to formulate a strategy. Before Xerx can reply, a magic attack hits their crystal, surprising Mimosa as the match has just started. To their frustration, Xerx simply lies down and begins to sleep. Across the battlefield, Rick uses his crystal scope to locate Asta's T, while Forte uses his fire magic in conjunction with Curtis' rock magic to form a ballista. Rick notices Xerx sleeping, infuriating them further. Mimosa uses her plant magic to locate their opponents, and with Xerx refusing to cooperate, she tells Asta that they should go on the offensive instead. They approach the enemy team within range, and Mimosa unleashes her cannon flower, surprising those watching as Mimosa had always specialized in just defensive magic. Recognizing Asta's ability in close quarters combat, Forte and Curtis split up, but Mimosa knows the magic crystal is with Curtis. Asta gives chase, but he steps over a magic trap that paralyzes him, and Mimosa realizes they are on open ground, about to be struck by 3 massive spells. As Asta drops to the ground, the 3 unleash their magic, and as Mimosa laments the end of their tournament run, a magic circle suddenly appears, sending the magic back to the casters. Xerx appears, revealing that this was his plan all along. He taunts Curtis' honor, telling him that anyone who loses to him does not deserve to be a magic knight. Mimosa recognizes Xerx's magic as ash magic, and the trap that immobilized Asta was set by him. She wonders when he had the time to prepare such massive spells. Xerx destroys the crystal, but as Asta recovers, he angrily confronts him for his terrible attitude. Sol and Magna arrive, telling them to clear the stage, as does Mimosa's older brother Kirsch, a flamboyant man obsessed with elegance and beauty whom Mimosa views as an annoyance. Sol and Magna are unnerved at Kirsch's insistence on beauty above all things. However, Kirsch openly shows disdain towards Asta. A peasant without magic to him is an unsightly and ugly thing. Angered that Asta was insulted, Mimosa promises to slaughter her brother in the next round. The match starts and Magna rushes in, bats blazing. He soon struggles against Sesk's jackal spell, but Kirsch arrives and gives Magna surprisingly good advice, teaching him the proper timing to use close and long-range attacks. Magna eventually defeats Jackal. Meanwhile, Sol uses her giant earth golem to traverse the battlefield, but it is caught in Willy's bog magic. Kirsch appears to her, advising her to split up her golem into smaller units. She follows his advice and defeats Willy. Adrian has snuck behind Kirsch and attacks it with his water magic, but Kirsch uses his cherry blossom blizzard to drive him back, while giving Sol and Magna a clear path to the enemy crystal. The pair smash it to pieces, giving them the victory, and they end up being caught up in Kirsch's flow, copying his mannerisms. For the next match, Finral volunteers to take charge of the offense using Leopold and Hammond's magic. Using the offensive style he learned through experience, he launches Leopold and Hammond around the battlefield, confusing and confounding the enemy. The 3 manage to overwhelm and defeat Kyle, Borgia, and Gaston. Next, Sek worries that he is out of his element with how powerful the other mages are. Flagell reassures him, saying that he must be strong as the other junior knights from the Black Bulls thus far have been. He summons his tacky magic ride, and Langris says that he has a good idea. The 2 ride straight for Gareth, Simon, and Medio's crystal, and although they think they have the pair cornered, Langris simply uses his spatial magic to erase their crystal from existence, a dominant show of force. As Langris returns to the sidelines, he taunts Finral that his magic will never hope to match his, calling him nothing more than a luggage boy. Facing each other in the next round, he warns Finral that he might die, but Finral replies that he intends to win. The next round begins, but one team consisting of Nils and Ruben point out that their last member, called X, has yet to appear. The referee calls out for X, and a masked man appears, who reveals himself as Rill, the captain of the Blue Deers. Rill's butler called Walter arrives a few moments later to cheer him on and presents Asta with a cup of tea, thanking him for being Rill's friend. The match begins, but Nils and Ruben are unnerved at Rill's vacant staring into the sky, prattling on about art. He goes forward by himself, but he ends up caught in the plant magic of Roland. His allies, Wainsley and Nyx, are surprised he was caught so easily, but they unleash their magic at the trapped captain. Rill remarks that the battlefield truly is the greatest canvas. 4 years earlier, Rill's mother is driven to near insanity at Rill's incessant use of his magic, causing great damage to the family's estate. Frustrated that nobody understands his art, Rill lashes out at everyone around him, slapping some sense into him. Walter encourages him to join the Magic Knights, where he is free to show the world his art. Since then, he has proven himself capable enough to be the youngest Magic Knight captain ever. Rill activates his magic, allowing him to use any magical attribute, and he uses it to eliminate Wainsley and Nyx with the magic they are weak against. Nils cuts Rill free while Ruben eliminates Roland with his rock magic, and watching from afar, Walter is deeply proud of his young master. Rill continues to loiter and observe the art he has created, exasperating Nils and Ruben. They are forced to drag him away when the next match is announced. Luck, Klaus, and Puli greet each other, although Klaus is off-put by the upbeat personalities of his two teammates. Klaus warns them that their greatest problem is Rob, a skilled user of wind magic. The next match soon begins. The battle rages on, with both teams clashing in the center. Klaus defends the crystal with his steel magic against Francis' water magic, but Luck arrives just in time to carry the crystal to safety. He then returns fire against the enemy's crystal, and people comment on his staggering display of power. Klaus has not slacked off either, having trained his body under Asta's suggestion. He attacks Winston with his steel magic, earning him the mutual respect of Luck. Rob appears, but so does Puli, who takes charge of defending the crystal. Klaus launches Luck straight at Rob, and to everyone's shock, he shatters both him and the crystal in one blow. The team celebrates their victory as all eyes now look with anticipation to the next match. Noel and Yuno meet at their elderly teammate. Noel and Yuno have mutual doubts over each other's fighting ability. Solid arrives to torment his little sister, recalling all the pain and suffering he put her through. The match begins, but Yuno is taken aback by the speed with which Dimitri, Electora, and Solid have rushed to their location. Dimitri assaults them with fire magic, which Noel hastily defends with a sea dragon's nest, but it is soon absorbed by Electora's sand magic. Yuno escapes with Noel and the crystal, but Noel asks to be let down, knowing Solid is sure to chase after her, while Yuno defends the crystal by himself against Electora. Incensed that Vangeance has been paying more attention to Yuno, Electora is further angered by what he perceives to be sheer insolence on Yuno's part. Meanwhile, Solid attacks Noel with a flurry of water bolts, but Dimitri tells him that they are supposed to act as a unit. Suddenly, he drops to the ground, being rendered helpless by En's mushroom magic. Another mushroom appears on Noel's shoulder, encouraging her to destroy Solid with all her might. Solid taunts Noel, but she says that she used to fear his magic, but she now only sees it as weak and flimsy, infuriating Solid. Meanwhile, Electora unleashes his most powerful sand golem, and dares Yuno to oppose it without his sylph. Yuno effortlessly destroys it using his tornado spell, and Electora falls to his knees in defeat. Meanwhile, Noel summons her sea dragon's roar while Solid stares in disbelief, refusing to acknowledge that Noel could muster such magic. Still believing that the spell will miss, he dares her to cast it. Noel unleashes her spell, completely wiping out Solid and his crystal, and securing the win for her team. Noel looks at her defeated brother and declares that she is no longer weak. And this brings the anime to an end. Comment for part 8. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.